Hello students, welcome back to Study Life. Now, in this session, as during exams in 11th standard, we often think which topics to study and which to revise and what pointers to remember. So, in this session, we are going to have a quick revision on how we can revise a chapter in 45 minutes. So, here we start with our 11th standard chapter number 3, which is Kingdom Planting. Now, Kingdom Plantae will start with the classification of Kingdom Plantae, which is the most important answer. This classification of Kingdom Plantae can be an answer for 3 marks, wherein you have to write this chart and explain about each subkingdom and then about each division. So let's see, we have this Kingdom Plantae, which is our Kingdom Plantae. Then we have two subkingdoms. Those two subkingdoms are cryptogams and they can be phanerogams. So they can be cryptogams or phanerogams. So what is the difference between cryptogams and phanerogams? Cryptogams means they are non-flowering plants. They do not bear flowers. So how do they reproduce? They reproduce by spore formation. The name itself suggests cryptos means they have hidden marriage. They have sex organs, male and female parts, but those organs are concealed. Whereas in phanerogams, as the name suggests, phanero, which means visible, all the male and female reproductive structures are visible. So phanerogams are our flowering plants. So this was the main difference between subkingdom cryptogams and phanerogams. Now in cryptogams, it can be divided based on the presence of vascular tissues. Remember kids, vascular tissues means it will be xylem or it can be phloem. Now what is the difference between xylem and phloem? When we say xylem, it supplies water, and when we say phloem, it supplies food. So these are the vascular tissues which are xylem and phloem. The xylem supplies water and the phloem supplies food. So those who have xylem and phloem, they will be called as vascular plants, and the plants without xylem and phloem, they will be called as non-vascular. So in this non-vascular, we can clearly say that they do not have vascular tissues. Xylem and phloem is absent, and the example for this is the division Bryophyta and the division Thallophyta and division Bryophyta. So both of them are included in non-vascular plants, which means xylem and phloem is absent. In vascular plants, wherein we have xylem and phloem in them, so the division over here is Pteridophyta. So this was about cryptogams. Let's see about phanerogams. Phanerogams, as we have already said, that they are flowering plants. So they are vascular plants, which means they have well developed xylem and phloem for supplying water and food. So in them there are two different, we can see gymnosperms, and there is angiosperms. Now gymnosperms, gymnos means naked and sperms means seeds. So they produce naked seeds in gymnosperms. Gymnosperms, we will say they have only ovule. There is no ovary. So they have only, they do not have this ovary. They do not have this ovary. They have only ovule. So this is the ovule which later forms the seed. This is the ovule which later forms the seed. They do not have the ovary. This structure ovary is absent. This structure ovary is absent in gymnosperms. So in gymnosperms we have only ovule present and they do not have ovary. Whereas in angiosperms, so in angiosperms we have both ovary as well as ovule. So ovule is present inside the ovary. So that means they have fruits and in them seeds are produced. So seeds are produced inside the fruit. So that was about angiosperms. In angiosperms, we have two different classes, which is dicotyledonate and monocotyledonate, depending upon the number of cotyledons. So in phanerogams, we had two divisions, gymnospermae and angiospermae, and in angiosperms, we had two different class, which was dicotyledonate and monocotyledonate. So this is the answer for classification of Kingdom Plantae. Here you can see this is only given that phanerogams, they are commonly called as seed producing plants because their reproductive structures are visible. They have visible reproductive structures, whereas cryptogams, the word cryptos means hidden, and they have hidden marriage. They are spore producing plants. They do not produce seeds and flowers. Seeds and flowers are absent, and they can reproduce by gametes, but their sex organs are concealed, which means they are hidden. So they are basically non-flowering plants. They reproduce by spore formation. Now, as we have already seen in cryptogams, we had subdivision cryptogams, in that we have division. We had subkingdom cryptogams, in that we have division, which is Thallophyta. Now, Thallophyta, what important features you got to remember is they are mostly aquatic. Few are growing on other plants. When they are growing on other plants, they are called as epiphytes. When they grow on other plants, they are called epiphytes. They can be many examples of epiphytes. Some grow symbiotically and epizoic. Symbiotically, wherein two plants are living together, they are both helping each other. That is why it is called as symbiotically. And epizoic, which means growing or living non-parasitically on the exterior of the living organism, which means they are not absorbing anything, they are growing on the exterior, but they are growing symbiotically, where both are helping each other. When we say they are aquatic, they can be growing in marine water or they can be growing in fresh water. So that is the meaning of when they are growing aquatic. Now, aquatic forms, they can be fresh water or they can live in saline water. So these can be in rivers or seas. When we say rivers, it will be fresh water, and when we say it is sea, it is marine water. So most of them are free living. They are not dependent on anyone, and they are symbiotic, wherein they are helping each other, both two organisms living together, and they are helping each other. Their plant body is thalloid. When we have the word thalloid, means it is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. They do not have root, stem and leaves. The most important point over here you got to remember is that they have different structural organization. They can be very small, like chlorella, which is non-motile. You have to remember the examples over here, at least 4 examples you got to remember. The differences in their structural organization, which is chlorella is non-motile, Chlamydomonas, it is motile, and they have got flagella for locomotion, and it can be Spirogyra, which is unbranched, or it can be branched like Chara. And last one is Sargassum, which is huge macroscopic, living in water and measuring more than 60 meters in length. So we have basically 5 examples over here. The first one is the chlorella, which is non-motile. Then is the Chlamydomonas, which is motile, which can move. And then Spirogyra we have, which is unbranched. And then we have Chara, which is branched. So unbranched and branched, which is Spirogyra and Chara, they are multicellular, whereas chlorella and Chlamydomonas, they are unicellular. So we have unicellular 2 examples, chlorella, Chlamydomonas, and multicellular we have Chara and we have Spirogyra. And the one which is very huge, measuring up to 60 meters in length, which is Sargassum, it is also an algae, which is very large, living in water. So here we have seen the basic points of Thallophyta. Then we would go to their cell wall. Their cell wall is made up of, their cell wall can be made up of either polysaccharides like cellulose or glucose. Cellulose is a form of glucose, or it is made up of variety of proteins or both. So most of the cell wall which is seen is in the form of cellulose and pectin. The outer ones are always pectin, and inner cell wall is cellulose. So they have 2 cell walls which is basically seen, but here you have to remember they have polysaccharide like cellulose, glucose, or a variety of proteins. Now they are reserve food, like we have reserve food in our body in the form of glycogen in humans. So plants have got reserve food. It can be starch or other forms. Now these other forms, just for you all to understand, these other forms can be laminar in starch, Floridian starch, or it can be mannitol. So these are different forms of starch. So reserve food is in the form of starch or different other forms. Now their reproduction very important. When it is a filamentous structure like Spirogyra, they are going to reproduce by vegetative propagation. Asexual reproduction, which can be either by cell division, it will be in unicellular forms like Chlorella and Chlamydomonas, which were unicellular, and sexual reproduction would be by formation of gametes, but that takes place very rarely. So their reproduction can be vegetative, asexual or sexual way. Their life cycle shows different phenomenon. Now they have got alternation of generation, which can be between diploid and haploid. What you have to remember from other ones is that this the phenomenon, the dominant ones are haploid. The haploid ones is the dominant and the reduced diploid phases. So here they have alternation of generation where dominant is haploid phase is dominant, and the diploid ones is recessive. So algae, based on the pigments, they are further classified. So before this, remember one thing, that Thallophyta is also called as algae. So algae classification we are seeing, it is based on the pigments which are present. So when the pigment is green in color, it is called as chlorophysae or green algae. When the pigment is brown color, it is called as phaeophysae, and when the pigment is red color, it is called as rhodophysae. Let us look at the first one, which is chlorophysae, which is also called as green algae. Now as the name suggests, chlorophysae, which means they have green color pigment, and that green color pigment which all of them have is chlorophyll A. So what is the difference in this is, in this we are going to see chlorophysae, they are mostly fresh water and few are brackish water, means they grow in normal water which is with without salt, whereas very few will be brackish water and marine water. How is their plant body? They are unicellular, colonial, filamentous. They are unicellular, colonial and filamentous, which means they live in colonies. Their cell wall contains cellulose. As we had already seen before, their cell wall will be made up of cellulose, which is a form of glucose or proteins. Now chloroplast, in them they have different shapes, of various shapes, like it can be discoid, plate like, reticulate, cup shape, ribbon shape or spiral. These are different kinds of shapes. When it will be flat, plate like, when it will be having venation, it will be branched, so it will be called as reticulate, or cup shape, ribbon shape and spiral shape with chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Their reserve food is in the form of starch. So they have pigment like chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, and their reserve food is in the form of starch. We can see examples which are included here is Chlamydomonas, we have Chara, and the third example over here we have is Spirogyra. So these are the examples for chlorophysae. What else about chlorophysae is that they have got pyrenoids which are located on the chloroplast. As you can see in this structure, they have got these pyrenoids which are present in these chloroplast structures. Now these members are rich in proteins. These pyrenoids, they are nothing but nutritional bodies. They are rich in proteins, so they are used as food, and they are also used by these space travelers. So example for this is Chlorella, Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Chara, Volvox and Eurothrix. You can remember this as it is only there is 3 times C, which is Chlorella, Chlamydomonas, Chara, and 1 S, which is Spirogyra, then U and V, which is Alba and Volvox, Eurothrix and Volvox. So we have 3 C, 1 S and UV. So Chlorella, Chlamydomonas, Chara, then 1 S, which is Spirogyra, UV, which is Eurothrix and Volvox. After chlorophysae, we have our next one, which is phaeophysae. This phaeophysae is also called as brown algae because it has the brown pigment. So depending upon pigments, we had seen chlorophysae, phaeophysae and rhodophysae. Rhodophysae are called as brown algae because they have brown color pigment. So here photosynthetic pigment, in the earlier one we had seen it was having chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Here we have chlorophyll A, C and fucoxanthin, which is giving it brown color. So difference in their color is because of the photosynthetic pigment. In the first one we had seen that they are mostly marine, they are mostly freshwater ones. Similarly over here we can see it is exactly opposite. It is exactly opposite. This is marine and rarely freshwater, because in chlorophyceae we had seen they were freshwater ones. So here they are mostly marine and very few are freshwater ones. So freshwater ones, they can be simple branched or filamentous. Example is ectocarpus, and which are rarely branched, which are profusely branched. Example is Petalonia. Now over here in the last one we had seen that they have reserve food material in the form of starch. Here the reserve food material is in the form of mannitol, which is also a form of starch, or laminarin starch and starch. So this is the way in which their food material is stored. So mannitol is also a form of starch, laminarin and starch. Apart from that, in the rhodophyceae we will see a different type of starch, which is Floridian starch. So here their body is usually differentiated into holdfast stalk called as stipe, and they have leaf-like photosynthetic organ called as frond. So in this figure you can see all the parts. Here this is holdfast, which is resembling the lowermost part. Then the branch type is called as stipe, and the upper one, which is the lamina, which is also called as the frond. So most of them, these marine algae, they are also used as food because they have lot of nutritional value. So, and the examples for this is ectocarpus and fucus. We have the picture of laminaria, sargassum and fucus over here, but the example can also be ectocarpus, fucus, laminaria and sargassum, where in this laminaria figure you can clearly see holdfast, stipe and the lamina, which is called as the frond. So the third one after this Phaeophyceae is our Rhodophyceae, which is called as red algae. It is because of the red pigment which is present in them. Like we had seen in the previous one, Phaeophyceae, they were marine. Similarly, they are also found in marine as well as fresh water. It can be on the surface, deep sea and brackish water. Now, those photosynthetic pigments which were present in Phaeophyceae were chlorophyll A, C and fucoxanthin. In this it is chlorophyll A, D and phycoerythrin. This phycoerythrin which is present is giving it red color. As it has red color, it is called as rhodophyceae. Then we had seen in chlorophyceae, the cell wall was made up of cellulose. In Phaeophyceae, the cell wall was made up of cellulose and algin. Here the cell wall is made up of cellulose and pectin. And here the stored food is in the form of Floridian starch, where in Chlorophyceae we had seen only starch. In Phaeophyceae we had seen mannitol, then we had seen laminarin. Here we can see it is Floridian starch. So you can see, children, there is a quite good comparison of Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. Now this is commercially very important agar-agar, which is used as a solidifying tissue while doing tissue culture technique. Now this is also obtained from red algae. So you all remember when we had seen in the lower classes, this is the tube in which small amount of plantlets are grown on this agar medium. So on this agar medium is nothing but which is obtained from red algae. So here we have examples. You all can remember any 4 examples, which can be Porifera, Gelidium, Glacilaria, Polysiphonia, Chondrus or Batrachospermum, which any examples can be remembered, any 4 ones you all can remember. But remember one thing, we can compare all the 3. Like Chlorophyceae was green algae, Phaeophyceae red algae, Rhodophyceae is brown algae and Rhodophyceae is red algae. Next, where are they present? We had seen Chlorophyceae was freshwater forms, Phaeophyceae was marine, Rhodophyceae are fresh as well as marine. Then photosynthetic pigment in Chlorophyceae was A and B. In Phaeophyceae it was A and C and fucoxanthin. and in this rhodophysae it was A, D and phycoerythrin. Then third point of difference can be their reserve food material. In the first one, chlorophysae, we had seen starch. In phaeophysae we had seen mannitol, laminarin, and in rhodophysae we had seen floridine starch, followed by examples of each. So these are the main significant points which you have to remember while studying these three: difference between chlorophysae, phaeophysae and rhodophysae. Let us move to the second division which we have to see is bryophyta. Now in this name suggests bryon, which is moss, and phyta, which is the plant. Now they are the most important plants. Why they have another name? They are called as amphibian plants. As the name suggests, when we hear the word amphibian, immediately it comes in our mind that it's a frog living on land as well as in water. It is not like that. It is not a frog. It is a plant which is living on land, but it is needing water. So this is living on land. They are terrestrial plants which are living on land. They require moist and shady places, which means they require water. Why? Water is very essential for fertilization and completion of their life cycle. Hence they are called as amphibian plants, because though they are living on land, they need water for fertilization and completion of their life cycle. Now in this also their life cycle shows both these stages. When we see the word sporophytic, we know the word is diploid, and whenever we say the word gametophytic, which is it is producing gametes, that is the haploid stage. Now their vegetative plant body, which is the sporophyte, is thalloid or leafy, and their vegetative plant body is representing the gametophytic generation, which is the haploid generation. So they have two stages, sporophyte which is diploid and gametophytic which is haploid stage, and their plant body, which we can see, it represents gametophytic generation because they have a spore producing capsule. Let us see over here in this figure. This is the capsule which you can see. This is the spore producing capsule which is going to produce spores. So spore producing capsule, it represents sporophytic phase. So their vegetative plant body is going to represent gametophytic phase, whereas this one, which is the spore producing capsule, is going to reproduce the sporophytic phase. So in this figure we can clearly see which phase is the sporophyte and which phase is the gametophyte. Which phase is the sporophyte and which phase is the gametophytic phase. So here we had the sporophytic phase, which was the upper one, spore producing capsule, and the below one, which is this vegetative plant body, that was representing the gametophytic phase. So over here they have root like structures, but those are not true roots. So that is why they are called as rhizoids, because they are not true roots. These rhizoids are different in different plants. They can be unicellular in the first one, which is liverworts, while there are multicellular in different family which is called as mosses. So depending upon whether they are unicellular or multicellular, they are differentiated in two different classes, which is liverworts or mosses. Now what is the function of rhizoids? The function of rhizoids is similar to roots, but they are not true roots. Their function is to absorb water and minerals and also helping in fixation of the thallus to the substratum, which is the surface. Now in this, the first one, which is liverworts, they are lower members, and in this liverworts we have the example of Rixia. You can see this example which we have liverwort, which is Rixia over here. So this is the example for liverwort family. They are lower members of Bryophyta. They are primitive group, which means they are not well developed. They have a flat plant body, and that flat plant body is called as the thallus. In this figure we can clearly see that how is their plant body is quite flat, and that is called as thallus. And this thallus is green in color. It is very flat. It is dorsiventrally flattened, and it is having unicellular rhizoids. So we have two examples over here. One is Rixia and the second one is Markensia. So this is the example for Rixia, wherein you can see they are very primitive and they have a flat plant body which is dorsoventrally flattened, and the most important point over here you got to remember is that they have unicellular rhizoids. Next we move on to mosses. Then another one, there was hornworts. they are flattened, and the example for this over here in this figure you can see this is Anthoceros. This is included in hornworts. These hornworts, they possess flattened thallus and they have horny structures which are called sporophytes, and that is why they are called as hornworts, because their body is flattened and they have got certain extensions which are called as sporophytes. So that is why they are called hornworts, and the example is Anthoceros. The next one we have to see is mosses, and the figure for mosses, which example they have given is Funaria. Funaria is a moss and they have enlarged it and they have made a figure over here where you can see this rhizoids are present, which are root like rhizoids. This is the main axis of the plant. Then this is the foot, and the branch is called as the setae, which is coming up to the capsule. So this figure you need to remember this figure while if you have to draw the diagram of Funaria. This diagram has to be made. So we are seeing the third division, which is Pteridophyta. And now this pteridon, which means feather, and phyton, which means plant. So we had this feather and we had this plant. So Pteridophyta, the most significant point over here is that they are the first vascular, which means they have xylem and phloem, and they are true land plants, which means they live on land. So they are first vascular, which means they are having xylem and phloem and true land plants. So they are considered as the first successful terrestrial plants which are having root, stem and leaves. So first point is that they have vascular tissues, xylem and phloem, they are living on land, and they have root, stem and leaves. Now, they are the only cryptogams with vascular tissue. So they are also called as vascular cryptogams because they are the only ones which are having vascular tissue. Whereas the first which we had seen, Thallophyta and Bryophyta, they did not have this vascular tissue. Now this has how many plants? This you need not remember, then also it's fine. Then how are the leaves? We have seen that there is root, stem and leaves. लीव्स कैसे इनके? लीव्स आर फेदर लाइक. अगर ऐसे बर्ड के, पंछी के फेदर के जैसा होगा तो इट विल बी कॉल्ड एज पिन्नेट, which means we have a diagram over here, feather like. So this is the diagram for feather like. When the leaves are this way, it will be called as pinnate, and the leaves can be feather like, which is pinnate, or the leaves may be small. When the leaves are small, they are called as microphyls, because छोटा leaf है तो उसको नाम क्या दिया है? Microphyll. Example क्या है उसका? Sella genilia. और जब leaves large है, that time it is called as macrophyls. Example is Nephrolepis, which is fern. So here we have the figure of Nephrolepis. This Nephrolepis, you can see what you can see in this front side and this back side. What is the difference? The difference is that in this back side, it is producing what? It is producing what? Spores. So we can see these spores are getting produced on the dorsal side, which is the back side, and front side is this way. So in this we can see over here that this is the structure of Nephrolepis, where this rhizome is there at the bottom and they have roots. As we have already seen, they have roots, stem and leaves. This upper leafy structure area is called as the frond. It is called as the frond. This structure is called as the frond, whereas this is the leaf blade. So this axis is called as the leaf blade. So this was about our next division, which was Pteridophyta. After this Pteridophyta, in this we have to see where they stay. So as in Bryophyta, they also stay in moist and shady places. And what we had seen in them was they had sporophytic and gametophytic stages in their life cycle. Here also it has got both. When we say sporophytic, it means the diploid generation, and when we say the gametophytic, this gametophytic means it is haploid having one set of chromosomes. Now where do they stay? They can be living in water. When they are living in water, it is called as aquatic. And when they are living in desert, it is called xerophytic, and living on other plants, it is epiphytic. So aquatic example is Azolla marsilia, which is living in water. When they are living in desert, the example is Equisetum, and living on other plants, it is called as epiphytic. Example is Lycopodium. Now let us see their heteromorphic alternation of generation. I have already specified over here that sporophytic is diploid and gametophytic is haploid. So here we will see that their sporophyte is diploid, dominant, autotropic and independent. You can remember it as DIDA. Now here first D is the diploid, I is independent, D is dominant and A is autotropic. While this sporophyte is diploid, dominant and independent because they are having proper root, stem and leaves. We will say that they are well differentiated into root, stem and leaves. How is their primary root? It is short lived and it is soon replaced by adventitious roots, which are roots of these types. These are adventitious roots, the ones which are forming an adventure. And the stem can be aerial, which is above the soil or underground. Now when they are living in desert, the leaves are going to be scaly. And when they are simple and sessile, which means if this is a branch, the leaf is directly attached to the branch, which means it is simple and sessile. The example is Lycopodium, which was epiphytic, living on another plant. And large and pinnately compound, which was terrestrial. Example Nephrolepis. We had seen the figure over here. This is called as large and pinnately compound. In this we can see there are so many leaves present. So this is large and pinnately compound, which was the example of Nephrolepis. So how is their, we say their vascular tissues are well developed. So they have xylem, which is composed of only tracheids, and their phloem consists of only sieve cells, but secondary growth is not absent due to the absence of cambium. Now they are further classified as Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Phenopsida, Pteridopsida. So they are further classified as these. It is given into different groups. That the detailed explanation is not there in your syllabus, but this economic importance for your knowledge, you should remember they are used for medicinal purpose and soil binders, and most of them are used as ornamental plants. But remember one thing again, Pteridophyta are non-flowering plants. They are non-flowering plants. Then we have gymnosperms. Gymnosperms, as I had already said, gymnos means naked and sperms means seeds. So they are producing naked seeds wherein they do not have ovary. So fruits are absent. What is produced in this? Only seeds are produced. They do not bear fruits. They have only seeds which are present. So in India, we have 16 genera and 53 species of these gymnosperms. The example for this you can see on the screen is, you can see cycas, which is having these scale leaves, and this is the plant body of cycas. So here they have two kinds of leaves. One is the foliage leaf and second one is the scale leaves, which we will be seeing. Then you can see this is called as megasporophyll of cycas, which is nothing but aggregated and forming a cone like structure. And this is the coralloid roots of cycas, which is showing symbiotic association with BGA, which is blue-green algae. And why it is showing symbiotic association with BGA? For nitrogen fixation. So this gymnosperms we are going to see over here. So they are evergreen, which means they are green throughout the year. They are shrubby, which means they can have a small height. They are woody trees. They are primitive group of flowering plants, very old group of flowering plants. So they are evergreen, shrubby and woody trees. Now they are not covered by fruit. Very important point. The seeds are not covered by fruit. They do not have fruits. Only seeds are present. Now they are vascular plants, same what we had seen in Pteridophyta. They are having xylem with tracheids and phloem with sieve cells. The plant body, which is called as the sporophyte, it is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Now in this, the root is the tap root type. In the earlier one we had seen adventitious root. In this, the root type is the tap root type, which is the root of this form. The root of this form is called as the tap root type. So over here we can see this very important. I had shown you the diagram of coralloid roots of cycas. They show association with blue-green algae, and that is for the nitrogen fixation. And the roots of the pinus, which looks like Christmas tree, they have got association with endophytic fungi called as mycorrhiza. Again, the function of this mycorrhiza is to supply water and minerals. Depending upon which mycorrhiza is present, it can be ectomycorrhiza or endomycorrhiza. In gymnosperms, the stem is mostly erect and it can be aerial, solid or cylindrical. Secondary growth is seen over here. It is due to the presence of cambium. We had seen in pteridophyta secondary growth was absent, but in this we can see secondary growth is present due to the presence of cambium. Now cycas, the branches it's unbranched, whereas in conifers we have the tree like this way. So in conifers we can see the tree is usually branched. They have branches. So conifers are the branched one, whereas the cycas is the unbranched one. The foliage leaves, which are green in color, the leaves are dimorphic, which means they are of two types. The ones which are green in color, they are called as the foliage leaves. So remember the one point, these are green in color and they are needle-like. And the ones which are brown in color and they are small, membranous and brown, they are called as scale leaves. So we have two kinds of leaves. One is the foliage leaves, which are green in color, whereas the scale leaves are small, membranous and brown. So spores are produced. How are these spores produced? The male spores are produced in male cones, which are called as microsporophylls, and the female spores are produced in female cones, which are called as megasporophylls. Now in this, the significant point which you have to remember was the ovary is absent. Ovary is absent, so that is why they do not produce fruits. They have only ovules which are present, and that is why they produce only seeds. Now the last one which we have to see is angiosperm. Angios means it is enclosed inside the seed. So we have seeds which are present inside the fruit. So they have got ovary and inside that they have ovule. This is the most advanced ones in which seeds are present within the fruit. So inside the fruit we have the seeds. So here we have ovary is present and inside that we have ovules. Now they vary in size. The angiosperms, they show heteromorphic alternation of generation in which sporophyte, which we had seen in the previous one, it is the same, it is DIDA, which means it is diploid, it is independent, it is dominant and it is autotropic. So that is why it is called as DIDA. And the gametophyte is going to be opposite, which is haploid. Independent means it is going to be dependent. Dominant ka ulta is going to be recessive. So all is opposite of sporophyte and gametophyte. Sporophyte का diploid, two set of chromosome, gametophyte में क्या बन जाएगा? It is going to form haploid. वहाँ पे dominant था sporophyte में, यहाँ पे क्या बन जाएगा? Recessive. वहाँ पे हमने देखा it is independent in sporophyte. तो gametophyte कैसे बन जाएगा? It is going to be dependent on sporophyte. Now these angiosperms, how are their structures? They are heterosporous. Their male spores are called as microspores, commonly known as pollen grains. Like in the first one, gymnosperms, we had seen microsporophyll. और दूसरा क्या देखा था? मेगास्पोरोफिल. वैसे ही यहाँ पे भी the male spores which are going to get produced, they are called as microspore. नहीं तो pollens, they are produced in microsporangia, मतलब anther. अगर ये मैंने स्ट्रक्चर बनाया anther का, this is the structure of the anther. दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द एंथर एंड ये नीचे यहाँ पे दिख रहा है आपको फिलामेंट आ रहा है. दिस एंटायर स्ट्रक्चर इज गोइंग टू फॉर्म माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल. ओके, माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल जिसका नाम क्या होगा? स्टेमेन. जिसमें ये जो अपना एंथर है, एंथर को क्या बोलते हैं? माइक्रोस्पोरेंजिया. और इसके अंदर जो पोलन्स बन रहे हैं, दोज पोलन्स आर कॉल्ड एज माइक्रोस्पोर्स. तो हमारे पास पोलन्स है जो माइक्रोस्पोर्स है, किसके अंदर बन रहे हैं? माइक्रोस्पोरेंजिया विच इज द एंथर. एंड पूरा ये फिलामेंट के साथ स्टेमेन के स्ट्रक्चर को क्या बोलते हैं? इट इज कॉल्ड एज माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल और स्टेमेन, या तो दूसरा नाम क्या है उसका? स्टेमेन. वैसे ही सिमिलरली विल सी द फीमेल स्ट्रक्चर. इन द फीमेल स्ट्रक्चर वी हैव दिस स्टिग्मा, वी हैव दिस स्टाइल एंड वी हैव दिस ओवरी. नाउ यहाँ पे जो ओवरी के अंदर वी हैव द ओव्यूल. दिस ओव्यूल इज कॉल्ड एज मेगास्पोरेंजिया। जैसे वहाँ पे हमने क्या पढ़ा था, एंथर को बोलते हैं माइक्रोस्पोरेंजिया, वैसे यहाँ पे ओव्यूल को क्या बोलते हैं, मेगास्पोरेंजिया। एंड ये ओव्यूल के साथ ये पूरा ये जो अपना था ना स्टिग्मा, दिस इज द स्टिग्मा ऑफ द फीमेल पार्ट, दिस इज द स्टाइल एंड दिस इज द ओवरी। ओवरी के अंदर क्या था अपना ओव्यूल, ये ओवरी के अंदर वी हैव ओव्यूल। दिस ओव्यूल इज कॉल्ड एज मेगास्पोरेंजिया एंड दे आर प्रेजेंट ऑन हाईली स्पेशलाइज्ड स्ट्रक्चर। पूरे स्ट्रक्चर को क्या बोला जाता है, कार्पेल, और इट इज कॉल्ड एज मेगास्पोरोफिल। So the entire structure is called as carpel or megasporophyll, which is divided into parts like stigma, style and ovary. Ovary के अंदर क्या है, ovule, जिसको क्या बोलते हैं, megasporangia, and पूरे के पूरे carpel को megasporophyll. Beside essential whorls, और भी एसेसरी वोल्स हैं जिनको माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल्स बोलते हैं। माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल पूरे एंड्रोशियम को बोलते हैं, मेगास्पोरोफिल विच इज गाइनोशियम। अभी वी हैड सीन, नाउ ओनली वी हैड सीन that microsporophyll is called as stamens. Many stamens together come and they form what? They form microsporophyll. And similarly many carpels again together come and they form what? Megasporophyll. Now ये अपने essential whorls है which are very important for reproduction. Other accessory whorls, they include calyx which is the sepals, and we have corolla which is the petals. We have the calyx, sepals and corolla, petals which are arranging themselves to form the flower. We had seen we had two different classes in them, dicotyledone and monocotyledone. चलो दोनों के बीच में डिफरेंस देखते हैं। लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ मोनोकोटिलिडॉन। मोनोकोटिलिडॉन में सिंगल कोटिलिडॉन है, तो डाइकोटिलिडॉन में क्या है, टू कोटिलिडॉन्स है। डाइकोटिलिडॉन में क्या बोलेंगे, टू कोटिलिडॉन्स है। तो हो गया अपना फर्स्ट पॉइंट ऑफ डिफरेंस। मोनोकोटिलिडॉन में वन कोटिलिडॉन, इनमें क्या आएगा, टू कोटिलिडॉन इन देयर एम्ब्रियो। इसमें रूट, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट सेकेंड पॉइंट कौन सा आएगा अपना, रूट। इसमें रूट एडवेंटिशियस रूट सिस्टम है। इसमें रूट कौन सा है, इसमें रूट है टैप रूट सिस्टम। तो सेकेंड पॉइंट ऑफ डिफरेंस क्या बन जाएगा, वहाँ पे एडवेंटिशियस है, यहाँ पे क्या है, टैप रूट। अभी वहाँ पे स्टेम कौन से टाइप का है, द स्टेम इज रेयरली ब्रांच। सिंपल बोल सकते हैं द स्टेम इज अनब्रांच्ड, यहाँ पे द स्टेम इज ऑलवेज ब्रांच्ड। तो ये थर्ड पॉइंट हो जाएगा अबाउट द स्टेम। इनमें लीव्स में कैसा है, the leaves have a sheathing leaf base and parallel venation, which means leaf का structure अगर हम लोग ऐसे बनाएंगे, so इसमें ये parallel venation है, the veins are parallel, veins कैसे है parallel, and sheathing leaf base means they are covering this like a sheath to the stem. किसको कवर कर रहे हैं, शीत की तरह, दे आर कवरिंग दी स्टेम। तो ये अपना फोर्थ पॉइंट हो जाएगा। लीफ कैसा है, दे आर हैविंग पैरेलल वेनेशन विद द शीथिंग लीफ बेस। यहाँ पे लीव्स कैसा है, these leaves are showing reticulate venation. Reticulate venation means these leaves are forming venations in the form of network like venation बना रहे हैं, so इस करके reticulate बोलेंगे यहाँ पे। लास्ट पॉइंट ऑफ डिफरेंस क्या रहेगा अपना, फ्लावर्स के बारे में। इनके फ्लावर्स में दे आर ट्राइमेरस, मतलब दे कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू थ्री डिफरेंट पार्ट्स, थ्री इक्वल पार्ट्स। हियर द फ्लावर्स आर टेट्रामेरस और पेंटामेरस। टेट्रा बोलेंगे तो चार, पेंटा बोलेंगे तो पाँच, 4 या 5 इक्वल पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, इस करके टेट्रामेरस एंड पेंटामेरस। तो ये था बेसिक डिफरेंस बिटवीन मोनोकॉट एंड डाइकॉट। अभी वैस्कुलर टिश्यूज़ के पास जाते हैं। इनके वैस्कुलर टिश्यूज़ कैसे होते हैं, कॉन्जॉइंट होते हैं। कॉन्जॉइंट का मतलब क्या होता है, जाइलम जो होता है ना वो अंदर की तरफ होता है एंड फ्लोएम इज आउटसाइड, बाहर की तरफ होता है। इस करके दिस इज कॉल्ड एज कॉन्जॉइंट कोलैटरल, दोनों बाजू बाजू में होते हैं। देयर जाइलम इज टुवर्ड्स द इंटीरियर एंड फ्लोएम इज टुवर्ड्स द एक्सटीरियर। जब भी हम लोग बोलेंगे इधर ओपन टाइप है, ओपन टाइप मतलब जाइलम और फ्लोएम के बीच में क्या प्रेजेंट रहेगा, कैम्बियम इज प्रेजेंट, तभी हम लोग बोलेंगे इट इज़ एन ओपन टाइप। जब भी ये बाहर फ्लोएम है और अंदर जाइलम है, ये कैम्बियम एब्सेंट रहेगा, तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे हम, कॉन्जॉइंट कोलैटरल क्लोज्ड, विच इज़ यहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा है मोनोकॉट में देयर वैस्कुलर बंडल्स आर कॉन्जॉइंट कोलैटरल एंड क्लोज्ड। सो यहाँ पे क्या था, कॉन्जॉइंट कोलैटरल एंड ओपन, कॉन्जॉइंट कोलैटरल एंड ओपन, किसमें, इन डाइकॉट में। डाइकॉट में क्या प्रेजेंट है, कैम्बियम इज प्रेजेंट, और वहाँ पे क्या था, कैम्बियम इज एब्सेंट। सो सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ इज कॉमनली फाउंड इन डाइकॉट्स। यहाँ पे हम लोग ने देखा दैट there is no cambium, so in monocots secondary growth is absent. So this was a quite good differentiation between monocot and dicot, which is the most probable answer for your exam. To differentiate between monocot and dicot, मैंने आपको बता दिया कैसे करना है. पहला कॉटिलेडॉन के ऊपर, सेकेंड क्या आएगा रूट के ऊपर, थर्ड इज द स्टेम, फोर्थ पॉइंट विल बी अबाउट द लीफ, एंड पांचवा कौन सा रहेगा फ्लावर्स, and the sixth one is going to be about the vascular bundles, followed by the example very important Zea mays, which is maize, or Sorghum vulgare, which is jowar. In dicotyledone we have the example as Helianthus annuus, which is sunflower, and Hibiscus rosa sinensis, which is the China rose. Our last topic is plant life cycle and alternation of generation. We had already seen कौन से दो टाइप के होते हैं, they can be sporophytic or they can be gametophytic generation. So that is why the sporophytic and gametophytic generation, they occur alternately in the life cycle of a plant. This is called as alternation of generation. इसका मतलब क्या होता है, सबसे पहले जो प्लांट बॉडी रहती है ना वो डिप्लॉयड रहती है. दिस इज द प्लांट बॉडी जो क्या रहती है, डिप्लॉयड रहती है. तो सबसे पहले वो क्या बनाएगी, स्पोर्स बनाएंगे, जो कैसे रहेंगे, डिप्लॉयड रहेंगे. दीज स्पोर्स आर गोइंग टू अंडरगो मियोसिस. मियोसिस बनाएंगे तो क्या होगा, हैप्लॉयड मेल गैमेट, और यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा, हैप्लॉयड फीमेल गैमेट. ये हैप्लॉयड मेल गैमेट और हैप्लॉयड फीमेल गैमेट जब भी फ्यूज होंगे तो क्या बनेगा, डिप्लॉयड जाइगोट. दिस विल बी डिप्लॉयड जाइगोट. दीज वर दी हैप्लॉयड गैमेट्स, मेल गैमेट एंड फीमेल गैमेट. यहाँ पे मैं mg लिख रही हूँ फीमेल गैमेट, fg लिख रही हूँ फॉर फीमेल गैमेट. तो इतना पार्ट आपको क्या दिख रहा है, दिस इज दी स्पोरोफाइटिक फेज, और नीचे हैप्लॉयड फेज कौन सा है, गैमेटोफाइटिक फेज. So we have the plant body which is diploid, and वो क्या बनाते हैं, spores which are diploid which undergoes meiosis, जिससे gametes बनते हैं. ये अपना मेल गैमेट है हैप्लॉइड, ये अपनी फीमेल गैमेट है हैप्लॉइड, फ्यूज होते हैं तो क्या बन जाता है, डिप्लॉइड जाइगोट, जिससे एक नया प्लांट बॉडी आ रहा है. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज ऑल्टरनेशन ऑफ जनरेशन. So over here we can see that there are 3 types. ये जो ऑल्टरनेशन ऑफ जनरेशन है ना वो कितने टाइप का हो सकता है, इट कैन बी ऑफ 3 टाइप्स. कौन से 3 टाइप्स के हो सकते हैं, इनमें हम लोग क्या देखते हैं, व्हाट इज़ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. यहाँ पे देखा जाता है माइटोसिस कभी होता है उसके हिसाब से बोला जाएगा. अभी आपको फर्स्ट फिगर में दिख रहा है, यहाँ पे जो फर्स्ट फिगर है उसमें क्या दिख रहा है आपको, जो माइटोसिस है वो वर्ड कहाँ पे दिख रहा है आपको, माइटोसिस डिवीजन ऑकर ओनली इन डिप्लॉयड सेल्स. सो यहाँ पे दिख रहा है आपको माइटोसिस बताया, माइटोसिस कहाँ पे हो रहा है, ओनली इन डिप्लॉयड सेल. सो दैट इज वाई दिस इज कॉल्ड एज डिप्लॉन्टिक लाइफ साइकिल. तो व्हेन माइटोसिस ऑकर ओनली इन डिप्लॉयड सेल इट इज कॉल्ड एज डिप्लॉन्टिक लाइफ साइकिल. और फिर जो गैमेट्स बनेंगे ना वो कैसे रहते हैं, हैप्लॉइड ही रहते हैं, एंड जाइगोट बाद में डिवाइड करता है माइटोटिकली. सो यहाँ पे ये याद रखना है, दिस इज इन आवर बॉडी विच इज एनिमल्स, डिप्लॉन्टिक लाइफ साइकिल. When we have हैप्लॉन्टिक डायग्राम में आपको दिखाई दे रहा है माइटोसिस किधर हो रहा है, माइटोसिस इज ऑकरिंग कहाँ पे, इन हैप्लॉइड सेल्स. बिकॉज माइटोसिस इज ऑकरिंग इन हैप्लॉइड सेल्स इट इज कॉल्ड एज हैप्लॉन्टिक लाइफ साइकिल. इससे क्या होता है, इनमें भी हैप्लॉइड सिंगल सेल्स बनते हैं एंड हैप्लॉइड ऑर्गेनिज्म, and they produce gametes by mitosis. The zygote is formed after fertilization. The zygote is going to be diploid, and the examples are algae and fungi. We had seen in algae and fungi the gametophyte phase was dominant. तो इस करके algae और fungi में कौन सा साइकिल होगा, हैप्लॉन्टिक, क्योंकि उनमें माइटोटिक डिवीजन कभी होता है इन हैप्लॉइड सेल्स. जब भी हम लोग बोलेंगे हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक, हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक में हम लोग को दिखाई दे रहा है, यहाँ पे हैप्लॉइड स्टेज में भी हो रहा है एंड यहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा है इन दोनों में होता है इसमें माइटोसिस. यर माइटोसिस ऑकर इन बोथ डिप्लॉइड एज वेल एज हैप्लॉइड सेल्स. दोनों भी सेल्स में माइटोसिस होता है, इस करके इसको हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक बोला गया है. द एग्जाम्पल फॉर दिस इज लैंड प्लांट्स एंड इन मेनी एल्गी. तो इन दिस क्या होता है, they are multicellular and haploid which is gametophyte phase, and the phase in which they are multicellular and diploid which is the sporophytic phase. तो इनमें माइटोसिस दोनों में भी होता है, डिप्लॉयड में भी एंड हैप्लॉइड सेल्स में भी, and they have the sporophytic phase which is diploid and the gametophytic phase which is haploid. So this is about the types of the life cycle which can be diplontic, haplontic or haplodiplontic. So this completes our chapter, and you all can go through the exercise and we can solve this. I hope your most of the doubts are cleared and how you can do quick revision of this chapter, which is chapter number 3, Kingdom Plantae. So thank you for watching. Please stay tuned for more videos with Study Life. All the best for your exams. Thank you.